Hello and welcome to the Ended Up in Vegas podcast. I'm Nicci.
I'm Meghan.
Today we're talking new construction and home building. We have the division president of Taylor Morrison, Kent Lay, with us. Kent, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us how you ended up in Vegas first.
Well, I ended up in Vegas because I came to start the Pulte Homes division back in 1992.
Okay.
They decided to expand into the Las Vegas market, and I was one of two people that kind of got off the Mayflower, so to speak, to start the division. So that started my career off in Las Vegas.
So you've been in home building for a long time. You also have a role in the Contractors Board, correct?
Yes, I've been in home building since I actually before I graduated from college. So,
okay.
So many years, more than I care to admit.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm also on the Contractors Board. I think I've been on the Contractors Board about 8 years now. So.
Cool.
So how did you get into home building?
Well, funny story. At the time I was in college, I had no idea what I was going to do. I had a finance degree. And so I went to the Career Center. Back then it wasn't online. And you just had a board of different job opportunities. And Pulte had an advertisement wanting somebody with a finance or accounting degree to join their company. And so I thought, that sounds interesting. So I'll just throw my resume in. And lo and behold, I was hired. And the reason they wanted somebody from the finance or accounting degree was the company was going through a big growth spurt then. And they were trying to hire with people with construction background. And what they found out that those people weren't doing the kind of job that they were hoping to, and as they got up the chain and up into upper management, because they just didn't comprehend business. So they thought, somebody had a thought that, why don't we hire somebody with a business background and teach them construction? And so that's kind of what opened the door for me. Otherwise, I don't think would have ever chosen the home building business.
Interesting.
But I'm glad I did. And once it gets into your blood, just doesn't get out.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that. There's something about like the project, the construction, the seeing like a piece of dirt go to something that becomes home and a neighborhood for people. That's really, I don't know, it's addictive.
Yeah. So what are some of the unique challenges that you're seeing right now in the housing market specifically? You've probably seen a lot of different, shades of gray in the, in the new home industry. So tell us a little bit about what's happening right now.
Well, one of the first things is you don't get into home building unless you like challenges and problems and issues, because they're always there. And even as long as I've been in, I'm still encountering things I never encountered before. But that's one of the things that drove me to the business. But right now, the single biggest problem with home building is interest rates. That's the biggest problem is, interest rates has, added so much more onto the monthly payments that people just can't afford a home right now. So we're doing everything we can to try and combat what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you, we know we're hearing a lot that the builders are going to take away interest rate incentives. Now, obviously I have a little bit of, I've seen how that sausage is made from behind the scenes. Do you think that's going to come to pass where people are just going to have to start accepting that these are the new rates and this is the new normal?
That depends on the market. The home builders are not going to dictate that. The buyers are going to dictate that and what we can do. We're going to do whatever we need to do to sell homes. Home building is a business. It's a very risky business. And, you're going out and paying millions of dollars for a piece of land, and then you have your work in progress, which is your home that you're building. So we've got to turn that inventory. We just can't, as a public company, and most of the builders in this town are public, we just can't hold on to land. We've got to turn that. That's an asset that needs to be turned back into cash so we can get more land and so on and so on. So the builders will do whatever they need to do to sell their homes so that they can turn their inventory. And I don't see the incentives going away anytime soon. I don't think the incentives will go away for at least a year or so. And if interest rates are still as high as they are right now, I have a feeling they'll still be, the incentives. Now, one of the things that will also dictate that in my mind is what happens on the resale side. The reason home builders are selling so many homes versus resale, because usually it's about a 4-to-1 resale over home building. That's more to, closer to 1-to-1 now.
Right.
Is because people don't want to give up their homes because they can't get the interest rate they're in. And the other thing is the people looking for homes and looking for a resale, the people selling their homes don't have the ability to give a mortgage rate of, what they can afford because they're just selling a one-off, and so they don't have the means that we do, having our own lending company in-house that we can get programs and buy things down. We pay for that, but we put that into the price and then the incentive to do that. And your normal person on the market, selling a resale can't do that.
Can't do that. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Do the builders, or does the building industry, I mean, there's a lot of question as to how high rates will go. Do the builders have any insight? I mean, nobody really knows, right? Like if we did, we'd be on our Learjet right now here talking about it.
I'm hoping we've reached the peak.
Okay.
If we haven't, it's going to depend a lot on this next Fed go around, the next two.
Yeah.
My gut tells me they might raise it up one or two more times, but I think that'll be it. And then they're going to have to start backing it down again. Now, that doesn't mean interest rates are going to go back to where they were.
Right.
I think it'll be I'm not one of those that say they'll never be that low again, but it's going to be a long time before they're that low again. I look at it as if I was to lend somebody money to buy a house, would I lend it if somebody I don't know and I'm in business to somebody for 3.5%? No, it's too risky of a proposition. So, I see them getting back to the 5 to in the 5s. That's the sweet spot for us we see with people that are willing to move forward is between 5 and 5.5. So that seems like where I think they need to get to before it normalizes again. And then you get the resale and the new home back on track again.
Yeah.
What might you say to somebody? Because I believe it or not, I still see this. People are like, well, I'm waiting for the market to crash. And I kind of just like,
well, I think there's always going to be that percentage of people. I get that question all the time. But I think you have to go back in time and you have to look at what the indicators were back when the market crashed. That was the perfect storm. Everybody was getting greedy. People were, home builders were raising prices, $100,000 every 3 sales. Landowners were taking their prices up big time. You had teachers and people, blue collar people buying 3, 4, 5 homes on no income qualifying loans. It was just crazy. Yeah. And the demand was not like it is now. Now it's a completely different demographic. You don't have that happening anymore. The financial institutions have gotten smart. They took it on the chin. They found out. So that's not the case right now. The other thing is if we look at the demand indicators out there, we are nowhere near hitting what we need to do for the demand. The supply is nowhere near the demand right now. Okay. So if you take all those factors into consideration, can we have some blips and can it kind of, level out and dip a little bit and then go? Yes. But if you're waiting for a crash, I don't think that's the best way. I think with homes, I think you have to look at it more as, hey, I need shelter. What can I afford? What do I want in that? And don't be just looking for the ultimate deal.
Right.
Because, they're out there, but that's the exception, not the norm. Just go and put your budget together and decide what you want and where you want to be, and then go look and see what you can find.
I think that's really good advice. I think that's very similar to what we tell people.
For sure. I mean, with the exponential price increases that we have seen over the past couple of years, I think, when you touched on how well new construction is doing right now because of the incentives, it's when you kind of compare the two, you're looking at a cost per square foot of under $200 with a rate incentive on a new build versus a resale product that is going to need, maybe it has deferred maintenance. Maybe it has, a seller who thinks its value is one thing and an appraisal is going to show another thing. So, I mean, I know you just said it, but I think it's really good to put in perspective for people, like how the two work together or, compete actually. Like, how do you guys are taking charge right now of the market.
Well, and again, that's because of what the interest rates, because we're able to give a buy down on the interest rate for most people. If you're a cash buyer, you got your choice of what you want to do. But, we look at, home builders look at, or I do, that my biggest competition is resale.
Yeah.
And it always has been and always will be, because there's going to be a lot more, historically, there's always going to be more resale on the market than there is new. And resale has the unique ability to be in the place where they want to be, where new home cannot all the time because of location. There's, we have restrictions. We can't go into, places where new build already is. So it's always going to be there. One of the things I try and use as a ploy to get people to buy new is, do you want to live in a place where people cook their toenails in the carpet?
So gross.
But it's true.
Yeah, it's so true.
I want fresh new toilets. Okay.
Yeah, everybody wants a new toilet. But I mean, tell us, so you're the division president of a large company. Tell us how you lead out in that respect in competing.
Well, we're all looking for the same land.
Yeah.
We all pretty much use the same contractors. Mm-hmm. So the unique ability we have is our people. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of people say that, but it's really true. Mm-hmm. Taylor Morrison, our CEO, happens to be a woman, Cheryl Palmer. Mm-hmm. She is unbelievable on how she puts priorities of people before anything. Uh-huh. And we've really developed this culture, and that's why I went to work for Taylor Morrison, was because of the culture. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many other things that are the same, but culture is something that you just can't take for granted. And I think it starts there. And, one of the things I instill to my employees is you can't expect any employee or team member to treat a customer any different than what we treat them. Mm-hmm. So it starts there. Mm-hmm. And then if you do that right, then it rolls out to the customers, and the customers appreciate it. I'm astonished by how high our survey scores are from our homeowners. Mm-hmm. Our 30-day scores are in the 90s.
Wow.
I got an NPS scoring ranking for, I think it was June of this year. And I don't know how much you're familiar with that promoter scores. Mm-hmm. But they're very difficult to get anything over a 60, really. Because of the way they're calculated, and we were at 89.
Okay.
Wow.
I've never heard of that. I mean, your best companies, if they're over 70, they're doing backflips.
Right.
But it's because of the people. It starts there, and then the only other thing we have to offer is our design and what we put into our houses.
Yeah.
And how we understand the buyer and what they want versus what every other builder is doing. So there's a difference than just being a merchant builder and just putting houses out to sell them versus taking a look at your consumers. And what do they really want? What are your different consumer segments, and dissecting that and doing your best that you can to offer those features to your customer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's so many people don't really fully understand. I think the way that home building works is they'll look at a piece of land and then they decide who's going to live there, and they work backwards to, how big are those lots, how big are those homes, what features need to be in them. There's a lot of art and science that goes into that. It's a lot of time and consideration and making sure that they're developing a product that's at a price and has a feature level that's going to suit that consumer. So yeah, I think that's something that Taylor Morrison really does well.
We work very hard at it. It takes a lot of time to develop a product. Mm-hmm. It's not just something we just do in a day and say, all right, this is our plan and let's go on. We take weeks and sometimes months to develop one plan on paper, and then we build it, and then we take another look at it and make whatever corrections or changes we think we need to on that.
Yeah, there's multiple walks that the builders will go through. So you'll have like a frame walk where they go in and they look at the plans as they're at their framing stage, and then they make decisions as to, is this wall in the right place? I mean, there's just, it's really a joy to see what happens behind the scenes, because a lot of thought goes into making sure that the house is built right and well thought through. Mm-hmm.
Well, I was walking a frame of a model right before I came here, and one of the things I noticed we were doing wrong was where the location of the shower valve was. It was in a position where it's a oversized shower, and you have, where the plumber was installing the valve was where you had to get all the way in the shower, go to where the shower head, and turn it on. Well, in the middle of the winter, how's that going to go over for you?
Right.
And so I grabbed our superintendent and the plumber and said, no, this is not where, and this is why. We want this valve over here so you can open your door up, reach over, turn the valve on without getting wet, let it get to temperature, and then get into the shower. It's just little things like that we try and think of. We don't always do, but that's some of the things that we try and think of is, how are you going to live in this house? And what's going to make you think, hey, that was smart. I'm glad they thought of that, because that's not something I would have thought, or that's not something I saw at another builder. They didn't think that out.
Yeah. In my design business, we do that all the time, where we're reversing valves from old homes. I think a consistent question from people, even, I get clients who have just purchased a new build, and they're like, why did they do that? Why did the builder do that? And it's like, sometimes it's laziness, right?
Sometimes we don't think things through.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't say it's laziness. It's we just don't think things all the way through, because we really do try to catch everything. But there's so many, as Megan was saying, when you go to develop a piece of land, there are so many pieces to that. And sometimes we just don't look at every single piece. So.
But that's where you as a home builder have a certain reputation and a brand. So tell us what your ideal client is and what they're looking for in acknowledgement of those details.
I don't have an ideal client. I want the client to have the best customer journey and the best experience when they buy a home from Taylor Morrison. I'm looking to make sure we're in the location they wanted to buy. We have the product that they are looking for and want. But more importantly, after we fill those and they've decided to buy a Taylor Morrison, I want them to feel like their journey from the time they purchased through their entire warranty process, that they were treated right and with respect, and that they enjoyed that process. Because buying a home, as we all know, is very stressful. And most people are out of their norm because they don't do it a lot.
Yeah.
And some people are first time, so they don't know what to expect. Some people have multiples and they've never had a great, journey. So they're on edge from the beginning and, looking at what's the builder going to do. And so we talk about, and we try and deliver where people just come in and they make them enjoy the experience. Taylor Morrison is the most trusted builder in the United States, I think 3 years running now. And I think that's why. Our people are honest. Our people tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And we make mistakes. But when we make a mistake, we take care of it. We don't make excuses. I have a saying, when somebody comes in my office, I've got a problem with a homeowner, they're complaining about this, blah, blah, blah. And I look at them and say, first thing I say to them, would you accept it in your house? Or would you accept it in your mother's house or your grandmother's house?
Yeah.
And if they say no, then I say, you have your answer.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the key to all of real estate, right? Is that you treat every transaction, every client like it's your money, it's your deal, and you give them the respect in that sense. So tell us a little bit about the experience when you go to purchase a home for people who have never built a new home, what the design experience is and who they should perhaps have with them. We go with our clients to all of their design appointments.
Well, I think that's commendable that you do that, because I think a lot of people just don't understand. I've had friends that have bought homes from me, and I've sat through their design appointments. I've had my daughter buy 2 houses from me, and I sat through both her design center. I've had my other daughter who bought another house from me, and I did the same thing. So I know their anxiety. My wife and I bought a Taylor Morrison house not too long ago too, and I saw it through my wife's eyes. I mean, I was like, oh, boom, 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 boom. That's but she's like, wait. I don't know. I'm confused. So much, and so I really changed the way we do business a little bit because of her. How I saw her going through the process, where I'm in the business. So it was like, what's wrong with you? We just do this, and this, but it wasn't like that for her. And she can't visualize things on paper. She's got to see them. And so many other people are like that. I can look at paper and see exactly, and I can look at this tile and then go away and go look at this cabinet and say, yeah, that cabinet will go good with that. But she can't, and so many other people can't. So, so we really try. We have a gorgeous design center. It's in downtown Summerland. So when you come in and buy a house from us, we're really there to hold your hand as much as you need to, or as least as you need, because some people know exactly what they want, and that's fine. They can do that with us. But so many people don't, so we're there to help them. And we really train our people to be there to guide through. We're not high-pressure sale, where our salespeople aren't there. With a home, you either love it or you don't, and it either meets your needs or it doesn't meet your needs. If this meets your needs, then yes, we really try and sell you the house because we can tell. But if we know it's not meeting your needs, and it's then we don't want to force something on somebody that's not going to be happy with it down the line. We're not going to get that sale anyways. But we're there to help people. So we really try and give people as much guidance as they need, to as little guidance as they need, depending on where they are in their cycle of buying homes. Our design center, we have design professionals. They're trained, they're professionals. Like I said, it's in downtown Summerland. And it's gorgeous, and we have lots of product, but not an overwhelming amount. That's the other thing. Some design centers just have too much, and people get in their heads just spin. And so we try and have just the right amount of selections for people, where it's not too much, but it's not not too little, where you don't have any control over what you want. So
Yeah.
So one of the things I think is really interesting and that people are most surprised at is that while Vegas looks like it has a lot of land, we actually kind of don't, right?
no, we do not.
What are some of the challenges that the builders are facing as far as getting land and bringing communities to development? How do you think they're going to combat that? And why do we have such a limited supply of land?
Well, we have a limited supply of land because we are surrounded by Bureau of Land Management, BLM land, or reservation. So everywhere around us, we just don't have any more growth. We're limited to what's out there. So what happens is we have to petition the BLM to put pieces of dirt, large parcels on the market, and then that takes a while. And then when they do go on the market, it's a bid process. And so everybody has a chance to bid for it. And you'd be surprised how many pockets in Vegas as you drive around. If you see a piece of dirt, large or small, there's probably about a 50% chance that is either BLM land or the Department of Aviation land. Now, the Department of Aviation is selling off most of theirs now. But a lot of those parcels, if you go and look up the ownership, it says USA. And USA is Bureau of Land Management. So you have to petition for those to get those. So that's our path to growth, is going through there. Other than that, because there are so many limited parcels and there's so many builders vying for those parcels, it's very tough. It's a relationship a lot of times, and it's just the amount of cash you want to put up on it too, which drives affordability up because we have to bid for those pieces of land, and coming in second doesn't do you any good. So you got to be number one on those, and so that doesn't help the affordability as well. So.
Interesting. And then there's also the urban disposal boundary, right? Does that impact land? Like what can actually be brought in?
Yes, but there's ways to, as we grow and as it goes out, those things will, there's lots of pressure on the municipalities and the government and leadership to have higher density pieces where, as the affordability impacts us more and more and more. Such in California now on the coastline, they will allow upzoning anywhere now on the coast, where before they would not. So if you buy a single family house on the coast somewhere and you want to make it a 3 or 4 unit, you got an automatic approval now.
Really?
Wow.
And here it's not.
No, it's not here yet. But what starts in California normally comes our way. So.
So if we're not going to get any more, obviously we'll get more BLM land. Do you have any thoughts as to where Vegas will go? Because if we're kind of surrounded by mountains on all sides, and I know some people are going to Indian Springs and.
Well, I think it's going to really go towards Gene.
Gene? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I see that being the biggest play.
Interesting.
Yeah. You'll see some development up towards Kyle Canyon. There's some restrictions up there right now, but I think those are going to have to be realigned a little bit. There's a lot of land speculators up in that area as well.
Interesting.
And you guys work a lot in Summerland. You have a number of communities there. So tell us about that area a little bit in the Red Rock.
Well, if you've ever lived in Summerland, there's no place like it. And you're either a Summerland or you're not. And Summerland has done just a fantastic job of creating value and prestige and safety and everything a home builder wants. Yeah. So you realtors know the difference between buying inside Summerland and the costs outside, and why are people willing to pay $100,000 or more to live in Summerland? It's because of the parks. It's because of the safety. It's because of the sense of community. It's because of the schools. It's because of the shopping that they have. It's the lifestyle. They've created an amazing lifestyle where people want to live, and people are willing to pay for it. And it's the highest land value in town. And on top of that, it's the highest development cost in town too, because you're going up a side of a mountain now.
Yeah.
So going up a side of a mountain is expensive. It's lots of retaining walls and lots of grading and things. So you've got a double whammy there, but the builders are buying property there because people still want to live there, and it's because of the quality of life and the lifestyle that they get living in Summerland.
They still have a considerable amount of land too to build on, right? And
yes.
Do they have any additional villages coming forward? Or?
Oh yes. We're right now in the process of looking at more land and in their future villages they have right now that they're doing right now. So
okay, very cool.
Yeah, they'll continue to turn for the next 10 to 20 years.
Wow.
Is what I see. So, but they
Interesting.
do a good job of they're not dumping everything out.
Right.
They understand how they keep the quality there, and they understand limiting the amount of dirt at a time so they don't overbuild at one time and create too much competition. So when you go in and buy a parcel from there, you're given a range of square footage that you need to build in, and you have to stay in that range, and the other parcel is another square footage range, and that so you're not, there's some overlap, of course, but not everybody's building the same thing, so that keeps the it going and the values up there so that it's not deteriorated.
You don't want to cannibalize different communities
Exactly.
and keep things healthy and gives people like not too much to choose from. And I think they're trying to be good stewards of the land that they have.
They have done an awesome, I don't know if anybody else has done a better job of being a good steward.
Yeah. Interesting.
Where do you see the future of home building going as far as what we're going to be seeing in homes? Some home builders are, adding solar to all roofs, especially in an area like Las Vegas when people look at the water situation and think, why are we continuing to build?
Well, I'm glad you brought the water situation up because I think that's something that people don't understand. And if they understand the availability of water and how well of job Vegas, not just the home builders, but Vegas as a whole has done of being smart wise on water. Our houses, are so watertight that, that if you go back, to the 90s and look at, and we've done a study, they went back to the 90s and they looked at how much water usage per house in the 90s versus now. And it's like a 70% difference. It's a humongous, because we don't have the
Wow.
grass now. We're trying to be more tolerant. Everything's on a drip. If you're going to have grass, it's going to be turf, not grass. All the appliances inside are water smart appliances, your toilets, your faucets and everything. But even that, because of the way Vegas is set up, because we're in this bowl and it all drains to Lake Mead, we're able to, anything that is used in your house that goes down your drain goes back to Lake Mead. And I don't forsake the exact numbers, but generality on numbers. We get 300 acre feet a year of water out of Lake Mead. We use just north of 400,000 acre feet out of Lake Mead. But we put back around 150 to 200 acre feet. So our net is in the 200 acres.
Wow.
So we're recharging that water. And so because of that reason, there's not a problem with water. Now, is there concern about the drought and everything? Of course. But even if, from what I've been told by the water district, even if the lake level went way, way down to where it wouldn't even flow out of the dam and go further, because they put that third straw in, we would still be able to pump water out of that and supply water to the valley.
Yeah.
So water's a concern, yes, and we need to be smart about it. But there's enough there to sustain the growth of Las Vegas. And what people don't understand is when a city like Las Vegas stops growing, it starts to die.
Yeah.
And economic growth deteriorates. And, and that's what I think people have to understand. We need to do smart growth, but we need to keep growing, because if we don't, then the whole economics of Las Vegas will start deteriorating, and we won't have the luxuries we have right now that we like in Las Vegas.
What do you think we'll see as far as product? I mean, obviously we're going to see more density, but do you have any inclination as to what we'll see? Will we start to see more vertical, mid-rises and things like that as land gets more expensive?
If you go back to the last time when prices really shot up, that's what happened. It went to more dense, more 3 stories, more condos, more townhomes. I'm looking at, Taylor Morrison is looking at more townhome projects now for that reason. You get more density, and that creates a more affordable home for somebody, because that's what it's all about affordability right now, especially with the interest rates. So builders are going to get creative with what they can do there. I think you're going to see smaller product overall. I think some of the bigger homes are going to, scale down. I think you're going to see, some features declining, because, to get the home prices down even lower. Because, not only do we have land going up, not only do we have interest rates going up, but our costs have increased. I can tell you in 10 years, our building costs have gone up triple.
Wow.
Triple.
Wow. And then lumber, concrete, appliances.
Everything.
Everything.
Concrete continues to go up. We've had the largest increases in concrete this year than any other product.
Really?
Yeah.
It's wild. So one of the biggest challenges I think we've had since the recession is labor and skilled labor, right? So is that still as much of an issue for the contractors and for the subcontractors, getting good qualified workers? Because I know we saw that a lot during the pandemic. It wasn't so much that the contractors weren't doing a good job, it's just they couldn't get people to come out and do the work.
That's the biggest scare I have of the building industry, is getting the labor force we need. Right now, we have a good equilibrium with where we are. And
Okay.
I think the interest rates have done that. They've stabilized things to where the contractors can, man the jobs the way they should. So we're seeing what we call our cycle times, the time it takes from pouring the slab to turning over the house, decline, come down. Where it was taking us before we had the labor issues, maybe 4 months, 5 months to build a house, to where it was 9 months to even over a year for some builders to build one house.
Yeah.
So now it's coming back down to the 4 to 5, maybe 6 months, and it's because of the labor and the supply chain issue. Both of them seem to be evening out and getting better. We still have sporadic ones that pop up every once in a while, but for the most part, it's leveling out and not as bad as it was. So labor is going to be the biggest thing I think that we face, because not only is it a tight supply, but it's an aging workforce.
Okay.
And that's the other problem. And that's why we as an industry are doing whatever we can to get, a new workforce. And, there's a big kick now that, do you really need to go to college and get all that debt versus working in the trades? And the trades now, we've done studies that most people that go to college versus start off in a trade, you can make more money starting off in the trade than you can with all that debt that you might have going to college.
Sure.
And college isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
And I think people are starting to see that more. Kind of with this fad where everybody had to go to college, and now people are like, maybe I don't need to go to college. So that's why the home builders and the trade contractors got together and started the Southern Nevada Trades High School.
Yeah, so I'm excited to hear about that.
Yeah.
So it's the Southern Nevada Trades High School. And was it through the Contractors Board, or who was
No, it was not through the Contractors Board. That was a group of people that got together. I was the president of the Southern Nevada Home Builders Association a few years ago, and we had a lot of talks then, and we kind of put it on our radar that we wanted to do it. And it took us a while to start getting some momentum, but that's a conglomeration of the trade contractors donating a lot of money. The home builders, Lennar, put in $250,000
Wow.
For us. And, all the other home builders are putting money in. The trade contractors are putting money in. They're donating their time. For instance, we did get a building, and they to get the grants we need from the federal government, we had certain zip codes we had to go to find a building. Well, we found a building. It was an old church, and we renovated that, and we were in phase one of it. We were opened up in August with 80 students right now.
Okay.
It's a 4-year high school. We're only doing freshmen and sophomores right now.
Okay.
The word of mouth's getting out there. We've got a tremendous staff. But, one of the things, we got in there with all the rain, the roof started leaking.
Oh.
So we called one of our local trades, Cooper Roofing, said, can you come out and take a look at this? We need, kids are getting wet. So they came out and they said, we're going to do the whole new roof for you.
Wow.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's the spirit. I mean, the air conditionings are having, they're old air conditionings. Sierra Air came out and they said, you know what? We're going to replace all the air conditioners over time. We're going to, start with the worst ones, and then over time we'll take care of the air conditioning for you and won't have any issues. That's what this town does. The home building community in this town really gets together and helps out the community to do what's right. And they've done that with Home A2, which was transitional housing that we do things with. And I've never worked in a town that I've seen both the home builders and the trade base get together and do as much as they do out of their own pockets. They don't ask for anything.
Yeah.
You just say, we've got this issue, and they just do it. It's amazing. So
I think an incredible sense of community in the building industry.
Yeah.
So tell me about the high school a little bit more. So you said there's 80 students. Where is it located?
It's on Owen, and it's in the northeast.
Okay.
So off of Owen, past Nellis. I forget the actual other street that it's on. It was an old church, and they decided to move to another location. So we were able to go partner with a company called Red Hook that does charter schools. They buy the buildings, give you the money to rehab, and then they lease it to you with an option to buy. So that's how we found the building and got into the building. We hired an executive director. Her name's Julie Carver. Probably about 2 years ago now. So it's a big investment. You have to get your charter from the state, which is no easy task.
Yeah.
So that had to be, and when we went in, I think we were the only charter that got approved out of a bunch of applicants on the first try. And then you have to show your financial strength, and that's where the donations come in, because you don't get any money until you start getting your students in, and then you start getting your per student allocation from the government, which helps get you into the black. But it's been a long process, but it's been a great process, and we're excited to where that goes. There's a high school in Reno called ACE, and we've partnered with them. They're kind of our sister, and they've kind of given us their curriculum and a lot of help. We sent our executive director up there for 6 months just to see how they run it up there, and then she came down and took a lot of their curriculum and things and put it in place with us. So they've been, without them, it would have been really tough to do. So they've really helped us get going on it, and we're hoping to have that partnership where we can both grow from what we're all doing. But right now we're taking it all from them, but hopefully as we get going, we'll be able to help them with things too. And up there they build a house every year for a fundraiser where the students actually do that. So we want to do things like that and get to that point.
So what is the admission process like? Is it a lot? I mean, do the kids just that want to go apply and they're accepted, or is there a limit to how many students the school can accommodate?
We have a limit, and the limit will be 400 when we're fully built out. But they just go like any other charter school. It doesn't charge. We don't charge them anything. It's all public funding. So it's any student that's interested. If they want to play sports, they can still play sports at the school they're zoned for within the Clark County district. So
And what's the scope of the trades that they're learning?
It's going to be whatever they want to within reason, but it'll be like plumbing, electrical, it'll be construction management, framing, concrete, all those. But those are electives because we have to do the base funding,
basic
curriculum first. So we still have to adhere to all of that. So this is just the elective. So that's why we can't teach them all because they don't have enough electives. That's what they want to default to. But, we've got the science, and we've got the math, and we've got the English, and all those things that you need in a regular high school. It's the same curriculum, but it's the electives. But the neat thing is, like on the math, we can relate it to home building or construction, and to science, we can probably relate that a little bit more to home building and things like that. So keep their attention.
What would you say? I mean, is there a specific field that is in the highest need, or like? I mean, I know there at one time it was all of them. But is there one that you guys push people to because there's such a need for it? Is it electricians, plumbers? I mean,
it's really across the board. So there's not one we really push. But one of the stories on the school, we've gotten 2 correspondence from moms and dads, 2 students at the school, and both of them said, our son last year didn't want to go to school. He, would miss 2 and 3 days a week. And this was very similar on both stories. And they said they want to go to school now. They can't wait to go to school.
Yeah.
It's completely different because they're seeing something, I think, that relates to what they can do.
Right.
And they, that was the biggest problem I had in school was, I'm doing algebra. I'm like, why am I doing algebra? When am I going to use this? But I think they see what they can use it for. And so it's creating a thing like, I need to learn this now. This isn't just something they're just, spoon feeding me because somebody said I have to learn it.
Right.
I can see the end use. And I think that's what's changing their attitudes, that they want to go to school and work towards.
Yeah.
I think that's great because I can definitely relate to that. I mean, even raising up kids that are in school. I mean, I have a 4th grader and a 6th grader, and it's like, when will I ever use this? I mean, I think we all feel that way. So to have application and to be learning something that's useful, I think is really valuable.
Yeah. Well, Ken, thank you so much for being on our podcast. I feel like we could sit here all day and ask more questions.
Well, my pleasure. I really enjoyed it, and thank you for having me on.
So I do have one question. So you used to live in the northwest part of town, right? I mean, do you have a preference on side of town? Because this is one of the things about being in Vegas is, like you said, there's people who are Summerland people, and there's people who are Green Valley people. Do you have a side that you gravitate to?
I'll give you a couple stories. When we first moved here, I remember my wife and I driving around trying to find a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
And we had set our office up in the Northwest Desert Shores area. And I wanted to live in that part of town. Summerland was just starting to go, but it wasn't really booming yet. And I was showing her Picoli Ranch back then, Desert Shores.
It was the place.
Yeah.
And showing her all the things like that. And she kept on saying, I want to go to Green Valley. I want to go, because she just read about it when we were from Phoenix. And like resistant, finally said, all right, we'll go to Green Valley. So we drove out to Green Valley. I showed her house out there. She's like, what's so special about this? I said, well, that's why I'm trying to keep you on the other side. So I might get in trouble from some people in the Green Valley or in the Henderson area, but we just gravitated to that side of town.
Yeah.
So that's where we decided, and we started off in Desert Shores, and then we moved to Summerland.
Mm-hmm.
And then once all of our kids got out of the house, we decided to downsize, and then we went into the Northwest because we couldn't find something that met our needs in Summerland at the price I wanted to pay, because it was very expensive. And since we didn't have kids, the lifestyle for the kids wasn't a determination. So we moved out. But then my daughter got married and was living in Southern Cal, and they decided they wanted to have a family, and they figured out they couldn't have one there, or they'd have to be in an apartment the whole time, and they wanted to buy a home. And he didn't know much about her husband, about Vegas. And he was like, yeah, we'll just fly a fixer-upper anywhere. And my daughter said, nope, we are moving to Summerland. That's the only place I'm buying a house. And so, lo and behold, they bought a house from me. And so they're still there in that house. So
They're still there in that
they
house.
love it. So
Yeah.
And I think that's so just fitting for how it works. It's like you almost can't even put your finger on it. I mean, I think you could list reasons why one might like one over another, but it really is just a feel. I think you feel like this area fits. I like it. This is where I want to be. It's such a unique thing to Vegas.
Yeah.
And Lake Las Vegas now is just really coming in its own. If you've not been out there, you need to go out and look at some of what's going on out there. We've got we'll have 5 communities out there.
Oh, really?
And it's gorgeous out
Yeah.
there. It's really coming into its own.
Yeah. We're out there quite a bit. You've done some remodels out there. I've sold a couple houses out there. It's it really struggled for a while, but it's nice to see it growing.
It's awesome out there.
Yeah, I think we're going to be ready for when the infrastructure around Lake Las Vegas kind of meets it where its needs are.
Yep. Well, Cadence has helped that with the new Smiths there.
For
and
sure.
other things happening, and there's some great charter schools out there for schools for people too.
Yeah.
So are you staying close to home on a Sunday when the weather is perfect? What are you and your
We
wife
have
doing?
grandkids now.
Yeah.
So everything revolves around the grandkids. So
Yeah.
we do that, and we go to San Diego a lot. We have a place in San Diego, so it's either
good.
on the beach in San Diego or it's here with the grandkids, or if I'm lucky, I get to go out and play golf on a weekend.
Yeah. Where's your favorite place to play golf in town?
TPC Summerland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice
Classic.
choice.
Yes. Favorite restaurants? Anything that you recommend?
No, we just go to a bunch of different ones. I mean, we don't have really that favorite one that we always go to.
Yeah.
So we just kind of go to. My one daughter is a foodie, and she's always finding these new restaurants and saying, "We got to go here, we got to go there." So sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not.
Yeah. There's so many new places in
Yeah,
the Northwest that I haven't tried because I live, South Henderson. So, well, thank you so
Well,
much
thanks for coming
being
on. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
We're excited to see what the high school does and
Yes.
how Vegas grows. So
And I think I would like to help recruit girls.
We are big time. In fact, this morning I was at the professional women's and building lunch or breakfast.
Okay.
And our CEO Cheryl Palmer was a guest speaker.
Oh, okay.
And because she's the only CEO of a national home builder.
Uh-huh.
And she gave her story to everybody, and it was really neat. And yes, we definitely need more women, and that's one of the things with the high schools. We want to bring in as many women as we can, because we need a lot of women in this business for us to succeed.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't realize that she was the only woman as a CEO of a national home builder. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I want to say that year over year, they continually get the best place to work, best company culture. I mean, just stuff that I've heard from the outside. I've never worked for Taylor Morrison, but I've, worked for other home builders, and I feel like Taylor Morrison always was at the top of employee satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
Culture starts from the top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Cheryl Palmer has definitely set the bar.
Awesome.
We all follow it.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to see what you guys do.
Yes. Very excited.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Kent.
Bye.